Deepwoken, potential game. Roblox's probably best made game in all of existence. Used to be the best. Now, that's not true. And the reason why I say it's not true isn't even the change in who owns the game or anything, but the way Deepwoken went as a whole. Now, to understand why Deepwoken as a whole is different now compared to how it was before, you have to look at what Deepwoken was originally described as. It was described as a quote-unquote permadeath game similar to Rogue Lineage to describe how difficult the game would be to the player base. Now, Deepwoken in itself, when it first dropped, as a verse 1 player myself, was pretty scary, and there was a whole bunch of mystery, and it was a good time. Now, obviously, mystery it's a good reason as to why Deepwoken was so popular back then. Now everybody knows everything. It's not as ambiguous. Now you don't have to come to your own conclusions. You don't have to think about anything, because it's all there for you. And that's one thing that I personally think people mistake as nostalgia. Yes, that is nostalgia, but that's not the reason why Deepwoken verse 1 felt so good. I mean, back then, you actually earned things, and a lot of the time, Deepwoken verse 1 was a lot more skill, rather than how it is currently. Now, obviously, as Deepwoken adds new things are going to have more synergies, and it's going to be hard to balance all that. I get that, that's why Agamatsu made the uppercut nerfs. I personally don't agree with them, but I understand game design's kind of hard. He has to figure things out, he has to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Me personally, I have a bunch of good suggestions. Some to make heavy weapon actually good, but not just cheese, and other things in jet striker nerfs, because everybody uses jet striker, ooh, but it doesn't need nerfs or something, right? Or everybody uses light medium, nobody wants to nerf that. I don't know. There will be a lot of things that I want to do if I get put on the suggestion team, but that aside, Deepwoken and where it went wrong. Now, imagine this. You come home from school on a humble 2021 day. Or, I think it's 2021. That's when Deepwoken first dropped, I think. I don't really remember. It's been a blur. It's been a really long time. But, Deepwoken just dropped. First time ever. You buy the game, you load up, you die. Over and over again. It's frustrating. Without a doubt. I mean, it's your first time ever playing a game like this. Of course it's gonna be frustrating. But you crawl your way out the depths, or better yet, you wipe and you have to make a new build, and you keep trying, you keep playing, you never give up. Eventually, you'll get good at the game. You learn more mechanics, you find out about more rare items, you find out about how enchants work, and how legendary weapons work. You understand that things are rare in the game, and in order to get rare things, you have to actually try really hard. Now, the thing back then, since the servers were so crispy and everything was just good, there was not really bad optimization. If you've ever played verse 1, you know what I'm talking about. The verse 1 optimization was great. But even if you fought somebody using Crit Blade, after the nerfs of course, because original Crit Blade was crazy, but after the nerfs to Crit Blade, if you ever fought somebody using it, you'd know it wasn't really that good. I mean, obviously people couldn't parry as well as they could nowadays. Nowadays, half the people I fight are either auto-parrying or they're like a absolute demon who could be auto-parrying. But no, they're just that good at the game now, right? But the thing is, back then, Deepwoken actually had rarity and things felt earned. Nowadays, you just do a floor 2 or something, and it's all easy. And the problem is, Deepwoken, because it was a quote-unquote hardcore game originally, and they kind of kept some of the mechanics that keep it a hardcore game, when they try to onboard the new players by making it more noob-friendly, the game loses out on all of what made it a good game originally. Deepwoken nowadays, we have people complaining about Kiersguard Champ in Parliament, and back then, a lot of the times people had to worry about, oh yeah, if I go to the depths, maybe I'll get swamped by depths mobs and I'll wipe, or go to the depths, I don't know if I have my bell, or ooh, the Primadon's difficult, Ferryman's difficult, Duke's difficult. All of these things are difficult. Exploring the map felt new, and the thing is, they can't make exploring the map feel new, so they have to add more content, but inevitably, more content gets played pretty fast. Especially with people data mining and exploiting in the game. Like, imagine how much longer Valve Iron would be uncompleted had nobody auto-parried on, like, Lord Region. And the thing is, Valve Iron took them months to make. And, oh wow, it's done in a week. Somebody completed the whole game in a week, and they're speedrunning it. And here's the worst part. There's not even any, you don't even get anything for beating Valve Iron. Like, in my opinion, every single time you do Valve Iron, even if you whip, you should get some echoes depending on how many bosses you fought. And with those echoes, you could go into the normal echo shop, except now you could buy more slots, and you could buy race rerolls with them. You can't buy last wins, so they could still monetize their way off that. And obviously, it'd be a bunch of echoes to buy race rerolls or like a new slot. But hey, now there's incentive to play Valve Iron, so now there's like 6 people in Valve Iron instead of 5. And it actually does something. Now I can get echoes, and it makes everything nice. Like, the issue, me personally, in my head, Deep Woken developers aren't trying to make their game feel good. They're just trying to push out content. And obviously, with a Deep Woken's player base, a lot of them are very picky. And they complain whenever updates are delayed too long, and then they complain whenever there's bugs in the update, whenever they drop it too early, and they complain and complain and complain and complain. And there's always somebody complaining about the updates that like really demotivates the developers. But on top of that, like, no matter what they do, the developers will always have some people critiquing them, and that just makes them not feel very good about their game. Like, why would you want to work on, like, let's say, like a YouTube channel or a game or anything if people are constantly just shitting on your work? Obviously, you wouldn't want to do work anymore if that was the case, and that's the biggest issue. Now, do I think what they did to Deep Woken is a problem? Yes, but what is probably the biggest problem is not even broken actually, no, it's partially broken promises, but it's the developers promising things like, oh yeah, we're gonna have Creekcraft play Deep Woken. Did he play Deep Woken? No! They were so focused on not fixing the private servers that they inevitably did nothing, and Creekcraft, who was supposed to be, keep in mind, Creekcraft has about 18 million people subscribed to him. If even, like, 1% of his audience played Deep Woken, that would be huge, because 1% of 18 million is still a lot. I feel like the Deep developers, they're great, and their team is small, and I understand small team makes things difficult, and if you put too many people in, it also makes things difficult, but Deep Woken feels so lifeless now. And as one of probably Deep Woken's biggest, like, not biggest players, but like, I played the game for as like long as I possibly could, for thousands of hours, and I've explored pretty much everything. If you asked me to play Deep Woken GeoGuessr, I could literally figure out where the image is based off like a 80 by 80 pixel screenshot. I play Deep Woken a lot, and I memorized pretty much everything in the game. I know almost all the talents, or all the old ones. I knew the original 327 talents. But, like, there's so many things in the game, and it doesn't feel the same anymore. Because of, I guess you could say, how people play the game now. Currently, in Deep Woken, there are 2 types of people. I don't want to say perma-freshies, but the casual people. And there's nothing wrong with being casual, but that's just how I'm gonna phrase it. But there's the casual people, and then the people who actually play Deep Woken with no life, I guess? I mean, that's a not best way to describe it, but the 2 types of Deep Woken players. The casual players, and especially now with the freshie onboarding, the new players are kind of, I wouldn't say freshy-ish, but they just don't appear to want to risk anything. They don't. It's like the equivalent of sending somebody to Rogue Lineage and then them complaining, oh yeah, but I wiped. That's gonna happen in Rogue. Like, especially, like, Deep Woken is the easier version of Rogue, in my opinion. Especially with more of the content systems. But, like, Deep Woken was permadeath. And nowadays, you don't even have to be permadeath in Deep Woken. If you're, like, relatively okay at the game, if you see anybody in the depths running at you, you can leave the game. And then you just go to the elevator escape. It's not that hard to not wipe in Deep Woken. Unless you really get snuck, and if you get snuck, I don't blame you, but... Potential Game's player base is the reason why Potential Game isn't working anymore. And the reason why I say this is because with a lot of things that people decided to make, and especially, like, way back then, I'm pretty sure Skipper Gripper did this. No, probably not Skipper Gripper. It was always AFK, I think? But somebody made a Purge Week, which this is bad on multiple reasons, and it really highlights Deep Woken's community as a whole and how they're, like, really toxic. And the reason why Deep Woken's community matters so much is because with a game like Deep Woken, where everything you do interacts with either other players or other, like, bosses, and with those bosses, a lot of them are like, oh yeah, you should do them with people, like, you should do them with friends. But Deep Woken is, at heart, a multiplayer game. Without the multiplayer aspect of Deep Woken, it's just Valve Iron, and just look at Valve Iron's player count, right? But the reason why that's so important, and like why the player base matters, is because Deep Woken's player base is primarily a bunch of children between the ages of 13, and then sometimes people like 27, Sev, sorry, there's something in my throat. But with those ages, a lot of the times people have huge egos and they would rather make the game only fun for them. And that is an issue. That's why you'll never see me typing easy in-game. And if you see me typing easy in-game, and I have said easy to you, I do apologize. That was probably the old me. But look, the thing is, with Deep Woken as a game, the player base interacts with each other very frequently, and thus the player base is the whole incentive for people to play the game, not even the content and the features. There'd be no point in playing Deep Woken if you have like a god kit and stuff if nobody played the game. Why would you play Deep Woken if you can't play with anybody else? And that's the thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, we bought this game for money, so let's gatekeep the game by killing all the new people who came during free week. Why would you do that? You complain that your game is dying, and you're like, oh, you comment on all these videos, oh yeah, Deep Woken, third Deep Woken death, oh, this game sucks, I hate Deep Woken. And then you give the developers no incentive to work on the game. What is wrong with these people? You want your game to do good, you want people to actually enjoy playing your favorite game, and then you stop people from enjoying your favorite game. And that's the worst bit. Like, obviously, because Deep Woken decided to cause more freshy onboarding, and more onboarding for players who are not willing to wipe, the game in itself is going to have clashing ideals for most of the player base, because some people joined because the game was permadeath, and they want to keep it permadeath. But then some people joined because they just wanted to try out the game, or they like the fact that it's not as permadeath reliant anymore. But no, the devs don't want to pick whether they want it to be permadeath or not permadeath, and then they make all these things optional, and then the game as a whole, it just isn't the same anymore. Because there's half the player base who wants to fight people and wipe people and make the game, like, actually competitive and permadeathy and a roguelike like how it was designed originally, and there's some people who just want to play it normally. That is the biggest issue with Deep Woken, and it frustrates me so much because the developers can't make up their mind. And then on top of them not making up their mind, they don't add good updates, they don't listen to suggestions, they don't fix anything. The worst bit is, like, I could check, I've submitted, like, exploiter reports of people literally flying, literally no stunning. There's clips of top Chimes players quite literally auto-parrying. do these players get banned? No! It just feels like if the developers don't care about the game, why should the player base? And that's why the player base sucks so bad. The developers don't care about their game. Now, obviously, just saying that sounds crazy. Like, oh, Agamatsu doesn't care about the game? He does care about the game. I've personally fought Agamatsu before. He makes unique builds. He tries to experiment with the game. And he is trying. And I respect that he is trying. But sometimes he just doesn't do things like how game design should be done. He primarily listens to his opinion. And sure, he does do polls. But unless the polls agree, like if the polls agree with him, he'll go with the poll. But if the poll doesn't agree with him, he won't go with the poll. Like, that's probably the biggest issue. I remember I was watching Agamatsu's balancing stream, which, yeah, there's a lot of people in the balancing stream. Obviously, not everybody can get on the stage. But Agamatsu brought up this guy called Amagusto, and Amagusto was making some not good suggestions, but they're not terrible. But instead of really looking at the suggestions and then trying to come up with the middle ground, or trying to come up with a way to actually balance it where it like makes sense, like, oh yeah, a bunch of people think this should happen, but I think not. As the owner of the game, your opinion matters, yes, but how people play the game and how people enjoy the game also matters to you, because if nobody enjoys the game, nobody will play it, then you don't get revenue, then everything collapses, right? But Agamatsu just kept on repeating, oh yeah, Pleaski says 5 crits, so it doesn't matter if the M1s are low. Or, oh yeah, it does burn on the M1s. But he didn't actually try to understand Amagusto's points or look at any of the stats or the damage. And then another thing, Agamatsu, I was taught, he was mentioning in his streams, oh yeah, theoretical DPS is a bad argument to describe why heavy in itself is worse than light and medium. It's not. Shaky block, theoretically, and when I'm saying theoretically, it's not even a theoretical, this is what happens in game. Shaky block is enough to get 2 M1s in pretty much most of the time. And pretty much, if you're doing 36 damage in M1, and my heavy weapon's doing 52, if you do 2 M1s, 36 plus 36 is 72. 72 is above the 62, or whatever my damage was. Obviously, yes, that sounds pretty crazy, but yes, heavy does have crazy burst damage. There's a middle ground here. Obviously, heavy shouldn't be overpowered just because the uppercuts, and it should have its own uniqueness, but by making light and medium just that much stronger than heavy weapon, it loses, like, all viability, and on top of that, light medium play the exact same, and Agamatsu hasn't tried to make light and medium play differently. You could just slap a stiletto on a medium build, and it will play the same! It's so bad! Now, the final thing I really want to talk about is the fact that Agamatsu mentioned how he wasn't gonna do balancing whatsoever based off of chimes, but not only has he done that before, and it has worked out because he's nerfed overpowered weapons by doing that, or it wasn't Agamatsu doing that, it was like mainly Rag and Arch. And Arch, shout out to Arch, he's a really good background coder, like he codes for like the back end stuff. Most people don't realize he's doing work just because they don't show the work he does, because it comes in the systems, and most people don't understand how difficult it is to make these systems. And I remember I was getting clowned on for saying Lua's difficult to code on. Yeah, when you're coding on a 5-year-old game where you had to create most of the systems yourself because Lua doesn't support a bunch of the systems, so you have to create it from scratch, there will be bugs! Especially if you consider the fact that the original code of Deepwoken was kinda spaghetti code. So of course, when they add new things, there's gonna be glitches and bugs, but nobody wants to look at it from that perspective. Everybody just wants to think about it from, oh yeah, my perspective's right. I don't want to listen to your perspective. Nah, 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 boo boo. Nah, 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 boo boo. I don't like your perspective, so I'm just gonna fucking ignore it. No, there's like, as much as I understand, community balancing should be like important. Like, oh yeah, balance based off the community. Most of the community doesn't understand the game design, or they don't even try to look at other perspectives. Like, sure, you could say, oh yeah, you don't know much about game design either. If we ignore all my experience with game design, sure, you could say that. But I at least try to understand why people say heavy is stupid, and also have counter arguments for why it's not. I guarantee you, if I go onto a stage with anybody and discuss why heavy weapon is not stupid, and they actually listen to my points, and I listen to their points, we'll come to a middle ground that, yeah, heavy weapon, in most cases, isn't stupid, but in some cases, especially in higher ping, heavy weapon is stupid. I feel like it's not that hard to come to that conclusion if people actually were to pay attention and like listen and try to come up with like things and like Deepwoken is just so disconnected from like the player base and everything, and it's so bad, which is why I personally think that I should get Suggester, or at least, or like I should get Suggester, maybe be on the team. I don't think I'd be allowed on the team, but if I could at least maybe get some suggestions across, maybe even get some like world events happening, or not even world events, community like events. I'd host them in Deepwoken server and in my server. Like, yeah, that'd be good for me, but it'd also be good for Deepwoken, because, oh, now you can get a custom name if you win this event. There's like a monthly event, and only one person can win, so every month there's a new custom name. People do it for the custom name. It incentivizes people to do it. I'm not going to give them any specs to make them stronger, but yeah, it would be nice if I could just do something like that and actually help out the community. This is my favorite game, and it will always be my favorite game, and seeing the developers not actually put care into the game that is my favorite really sucks. Because you're telling me I'm supposed to really love this game, I'm supposed to enjoy it, and people just don't like it because the developers aren't doing their job.